across the UK, online, on DAB, and on your smart speaker. Talk Radio. Julia Hartley-Brewer at breakfast on Talk Radio.
Good morning to you. Thank you very much indeed for your company. Lots more to talk about on the show. We're going to talk to Dr. Simon Clarke about the latest stats on COVID and why we are talking about delaying the 21st of June Freedom Day, when actually the stats are really, really very good and better than any of the predictions of where we'd be. And yet we're still already talking about that 2-week or even month-long delay. And we'll talk to our film and TV critic, Rebecca Perfect, about what to see on the box and at the cinema. Well, one thing you can see on the box as of tomorrow night is Jeremy Clarkson's new series. It's on the Amazon original, and it's called Clarkson's Farm. Jeremy Clarkson is very much swapping the fast cars we know him for the rather slower tractors on his farm. I'm delighted to say that TV presenter and Sunday Times columnist Jeremy Clarkson joins us right now. Good morning to you.
Morning, Julia. How are you?
Very well indeed. I have to say, this was a big change of pace from the sort of thing we've seen you do before.
Well, I'm a lot older these days, so perhaps it was time. No, I mean, the Grand Tour carries on, obviously, but it only takes up 2 months of the year, which leaves 10 months. And I thought, well, I should be a farmer.
And basically the wife wanted you out of the house, didn't she?
No, she's very much a part of the programme. She's running the farm shop that we've opened now, try and sell some of the stuff we're making on the farm. It's been a tremendous 12 months, despite 24 months now nearly, despite a number of setbacks, weather and COVID and so on. But I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Well, this is it. You say it is a very big change of pace, change of life. Now, this was all started, and you can see this in the filming. I've watched a little bit of the series where the pandemic hit sort of halfway through the series, and the big change, the big effect that had. But to a certain extent, I mean, farming life, that's very much part of the, the work that goes on that continued during the pandemic. How much did it affect life for you?
Well, I mean, when we were all told to go and hide under the kitchen table while the pandemic was raging, for me, having to isolate on a 1,000-acre farm in the Cotswolds was really no hardship. And not having to go to parties and feeling no pressure to go out or go abroad was actually quite an uplifting thing, really. I know lots of people had a very torrid time, but I really didn't. It was the happiest I've ever been at work. It was lambing season, the weather was fantastic. And I was really starting to get to grips with what I was supposed to be doing every day, and it was lovely.
I think an awful lot of people did have a good existence. Unfortunately, many more didn't. But let's talk about how this happened long before the pandemic. So the point at which you decided, I know what, I think I'll start doing the farming myself. It kind of, in one way, was sort of forced upon you, wasn't it?
Not really, no. I mean, I bought the farm in 2008, and then a man had been farming it for me, or doing other things. And then he was going to retire. I mean, the average age of farmers these days is 60, so, everyone's just about to retire. And I thought, well, I'm 60, I'll do it. Because I genuinely thought, look, we've been farming as a species for 12,000 years. It must be in our DNA now. And I just thought you put seeds in the ground and then weather happens and then food grows and then you buy a Range Rover and you go on a skiing holiday. And I just couldn't be easier. And it just is nothing like that. It is a very, very brutal way of earning not much of a living. It must be said. Not in the year when I did it, because the weather was just appalling. In the first year I did it, I should say, when we were filming. Awful weather. I think 5 separate weather records set in 1 year.
Yeah, never good for farmers in any direction. But I mean, in terms of the lifestyle, I've been reading your columns, been watching all your TV series over the years, and you live a pretty, let's face it, a pretty good fun life. It's a life an awful lot of people would love to live. Farmer's life is, as you say, it's pretty brutal. I think you probably have earlier starts than I even have here on the Breakfast Show. Tell us what a normal day as Jeremy Clarkson, the farmer, is like.
Oh, you're off to go and collect the, you used to have to collect the eggs from the hens, but they were all eaten by a fox the week before. Well, there's only 3 left, but I have to go and feed them, collect the eggs, down to feed the trout. Then there's always this time of year it's mostly spraying, which I'm not allowed to do because there's a government rule for everything. There's a bit of cultivating the game cover. thinning the woods. We're putting the polytunnels in at the moment to try and grow chilies and strawberries to feed the farm shop. Then I'll go up to the farm shop every day and stock that. And it's, it's a relentless work, and it's sort of never ending. It's like housework. It just goes on and on and on and on.
You do housework?
Yes. Look, it's relatively tidy in here, and it didn't tidy itself. So yeah, no,
I'm just kind of imagining the Clarkson households and rows over the dishwasher emptying. I'm trying to picture that in my head.
No. Well, to be honest, I am launching the show. I have to be in London, but can't wait back to the farm this afternoon. And yeah, it's a bit messy up there because it's all just muddy boots and overalls everywhere. But,
and do you want life to continue like that, or do you want to have the balance? You want to still be off racing the fast cars with your mates on the Grand Tour, still having that existence as well as the farm back at home? Or do you think you'd like to just settle down and be a gentleman farmer till the end of time?
No. Nobody would ever retire from the Grand Tour, working with Hammond and May, say driving great cars in fantastic locations around the world is wonderful. But we can't do that at the moment for obvious reasons. And I can do farming. And hilariously, I was made a key worker. So, which I wouldn't have been had I been driving around corners shouting, which was what I was doing for the last 30 years.
Can I just ask finally, when you're driving a tractor, do you drive a tractor as if you are driving, an incredibly fast car? Do you develop this sort of Zen-like calm when you are the person driving along the lane, blocking the traffic behind you?
Well, I don't really take it off the farm, so I haven't actually blocked much traffic up yet.
Okay.
But it tends to just stick on the farm, and it is quite Zen-like. I mean, you sit in there with a nice sandwich that you've made, and the sun is going down, and you're just going up and down, and it's relatively monotonous, and you have the radio on and maybe a bottle of something chilled, and it's an extremely pleasant way of passing the time. I adore it. I'm not very good at it yet, and my lines aren't very straight, and my cultivator's always at the wrong angle, and my drilling has been a disaster. But I'm learning. I'm trying, and I'm doing my best to learn, and you can watch me in the show.
Absolutely. And it starts tomorrow. It's on Amazon Prime Video. Clarkson's Farm. It's a very new Jeremy Clarkson for us. It's absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much. Always so good to talk to you. Really appreciate you joining us, and I wish you the best of luck with dealing with those foxes as well. 9:43 is the time. Let's turn our attention to where we are on lockdown. Benny talked about that today. So many other things to talk about. Simon Clarke, you'll know well, he's a virology expert and microbiologist at the University of Reading. Good morning to you, Simon.
Good morning, Julia.
Lovely to talk to you once again. I wish we were talking under happier circumstances, though, because in terms of the viewpoint, because we've got so much good news in terms of COVID. 8 out of 10 adults in England now have antibodies. Deaths in England and Wales have been below the 5-year average for 11 of the past 12 weeks. 8,200 and change fewer deaths than we would normally have. It's below average in 7 out of 9 regions in England, other than North West and North East. We know that vaccinations have broken the link between cases and hospitalisations and deaths. We know that the total number of people in hospital is now only 879. That's 14%, by the way, below the lowest projection we had for where we would be in hospitalisations right now on all of those SAGE attempts to to model where we would be. We've got fewer cases, fewer hospitalisations and fewer deaths than anyone predicted on SAGE modelling for where we should be in June. And yet there's still talk of us not unlocking on June the 21st. Why?
It's because of the Delta stroke Indian variant that has appeared in this country, and the numbers may be low, but they were lower not that long ago. So it's pushed them up again. And roughly speaking, not that roughly, in fact, the ratio of hospitalizations to infections is the same as it was in the middle of September last year. And that's what's spooking people.
But we also know from Chris Hobson, who's of NHS providers, that he said even the surge in the northwest to places like Bolton, Blackburn, which has overtaken Bolton now, is manageable. And crucially, the people going into hospital now, they're people who have not had the jab almost entirely. I think there was only 3 people in Bolton who hadn't had a double jab. They're people who are not had the jab because they're younger. They're they're healthier, they're not as sick, they're going into hospital. The vast majority of people who are cases don't have any symptoms. The other ones don't even need to go to see a doctor. And the very few who do go to hospital, vast majority of those don't get admitted. And the vast majority of those who do get admitted are only staying for a matter of a few days, not very sick, very older people, very old elderly people, very vulnerable people who are going into hospital for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, and then sometimes sadly dying. We are in a completely different place from the autumn.
We are. You're quite right, but people are concerned about this effect of pushing people into hospital. What we don't know, and the government don't tell us, as per usual, is what the risk profile of those people that have been in hospital in that part of the world is. And we do need to know that to come to a firm decision on things. What we'll see come next week is how confident the government is in that assertion that hospitalizations aren't really a problem. Because if they're confident in it, then they'll just go ahead as they'd already promised to, and if they're not, they won't.
Well, that's the trouble, though, isn't it? Because we've got Sage, we've got people like Professor Neil Ferguson. I mean, he's never taken an opportunity not to warn about things. They're talking about a third wave that could be as big as the January wave. Now, they've been wrong about all of their waves so far in terms of their actual predictions. Everything, even when it's been bad, it's been far less bad than they've ever predicted. The idea that we would have the same wave in June and July and August that we had in January, when we've got 8 out of 10 adults with antibodies, largely due to a mass vaccination programme, and the vast majority, I mean, we're talking about almost 99% in some groups of people in the older age bracket who are most at risk. I mean, that's a nonsense, isn't it? I mean, unless they're saying the vaccinations don't work, and we know they do, because the evidence from Bolton is really clear, they do work against the Indian variant. They're making predictions. All of their predictions to date have been incorrect, have been vastly more doom-mongering than they've actually been. We're in a better position now on the numbers right now than we were expecting to be, even on their best-case scenario. And the government was still planning to carry on opening up. So the trouble is, the government can't be confident if the only information they're getting in constantly is how terrible things are, when it's all based on models, which are all wrong.
Yeah, and even the more optimistic mathematical modelers are predicting a large wave. That's worth putting into the conversation. It's not just Neil Ferguson.
No, but those models have all been wrong. Yeah, we are still in a better place than they said we would be. But this is the thing. Why are we still... I mean, how would it even be possible for us to have a wave as big as what happened in January? In terms of hospitalisations and deaths, I couldn't care less about cases if people aren't dying or getting seriously ill in hospital. How could that even be possible?
I don't know. I'm not a modeller.
No, but this is the thing. This is the thing.
I'm sorry. The media are obsessed with the modellers, all of them, right across the board. And when the epidemiologists and the mathematical modellers are the only people listened to by the vast majority of the media. Yeah. Then that's the message that's going to go out, and it is the message that's going out.
Yeah, and then people get scared, and they look at the focus groups and the polling, and people say, "Oh, we're not sure about reopening." A lot of people, the people who the government seem to be listening to, and everything feeds onto everything else. But if you actually look, I mean, we're looking at an average of 6 deaths a day. I mean, I'm really sorry about those people dying, but we've got another 1,600 people a day who are dying of other things. No one seems to care about them.
The calculator jockeys are very sensible and very reasonable people, but unfortunately, like I said, the media is obsessed with the ones that will come on and wave the shroud at you. It's just a fact. It's just where we are.
Yeah, Simon Clarke. Well, I always think that we get a really fair analysis from you, and I always appreciate you coming on. I know we don't always agree. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, and that's why we like it, because we know that you do always speak your mind. Simon Clarke, University of Reading. Thank you so much. 9:49 is the time. Up next, what can you see at the flicks, or indeed on that box on your lap or in the corner of the room? That's up next with Rebecca Perfect.
Julia Hartley-Brewer at breakfast on Talk Radio.
Good morning to you. This is Talk Radio Breakfast with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Let's get to our film and TV review with Rebecca Perfect, all right, the film and TV critic. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia.
Right, I love this. We're now into very much more cinema territory than what you can see in the corner of the room on the telly. What have you got for us?
Right, well, if you want to go to the cinema to receive a masterclass in acting this weekend, then you should watch The Father. So Anthony Hopkins won the Best Actor Oscar this year for his performance in this film. He plays an 18-year-old man living defiantly and rejecting all of the carers that his daughter, played by the brilliant Olivia Colman, tries to bring in. And unfortunately, as time passes, his grip on reality continues to unravel, and we basically watch the heartbreaking demise of his memory. So it's not the easiest of watches. It's certainly a fantastic, as I said, acting masterclass here. It's actually based on a play, so if you're not a fan of those kind of, transitions from plays to big screen, because it kind of has limited sets and all that kind of stuff, then this might not be for you. But I would say just seeing these stalwart actors in action is incredible. I mean, Sir Anthony Hopkins has never had a bad performance, has he?
Exactly. Although, does Olivia Colman play Olivia Colman as she usually does?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
just lovely woman. Olivia Colman genuinely plays Olivia Colman, doesn't she? Even when she's playing the Queen. But I mean, these things can be very heart-wrenching and very sad. But is it also sort of quite funny at times as well?
I think his performance, where he tries to lighten the mood, can be quite funny, but you're kind of laughing a little bit through gritted teeth. It's a bit like, should I be laughing? So it pulls out all sorts of different emotions. But for me, I think when I watched it, I wasn't expecting a lot. And actually, I walked away from this going, gosh, this has really moved me. It's incredible to see Anthony Hopkins. I think he's 83 now, just doing a performance like this. But
also, and basically, this is what an awful lot of families are going through. It's going to ring true for an awful lot of families. Let's also talk at the cinemas. This film's called Nobody. What's this about?
Yeah. This is completely different. So if you want something very much less intense, and this is very much throwaway fun, you can catch Nobody in the cinemas right now. It stars Emmy winner Bob Odenkirk, and he plays Hutch Mansell, a man who is pretty much overlooked as both a dad and a husband, until one night a break-in happens at his house, and he does nothing to defend his family. So in the aftermath of all of this, a long, simmering rage is triggered inside him. It brings up loads of dark secrets and his dormant, lethal skills that he has left in the past. And it is something, again, unexpected. I wasn't sure what to expect from this movie, but then I had a real blast with it. If you like things like John Wick, movies like that, I think, that are complete sort of, action-packed, but in a very unexpected way, then this is what's going to work for you. So it's an hour and a half long, very easy to watch and very silly fun.
Excellent. That's for people leaving the house. Fantastic stuff. Rebecca Perfect, film and TV critic, thank you very much indeed for joining us. 9:57 is the time. You don't want to watch something at the flicks. You'd rather listen to the next 3 hours on Talk Radio. Mike Graham's here to tell us what's happening on his show.
Or you could even watch me if you wish.
We can.
I
nag people about that all the time.
I know, absolutely right. Well, do you know what's very exciting about the show today? 8 minutes past 10, there's going to be a solar eclipse. I can see that.
But we're not going to be able to see it. I mean,
well,
we've got
you say that.
You can't even see any. You can't see that. You can't see the sun or the moon at the moment.
You see, this is what you've been beaten into being a pessimist, And I'm an optimist. We're going to have a camera outside on the balcony. We're going to be filming the sky. Well, everybody else will do the same thing. Because it doesn't happen very often.
No,
you're going to see the third of the sun is going to be eclipsed by the moon, which is quite exciting.
But okay.
But,
I mean, you say pessimist. I'm going with realist. There's a load of cloud, but hopefully someone listening around the country will have some.
They might have something good. Yeah, I mean, we'll be going down to Cornwall as well. We're going to find out what's going on down there and why people are having to be sort of shunted around and told they can't go to lots of different.
The thing is about these things when you have these big summits and things.
What a nightmare!
I mean, when they're in central London, then they just close down central. London, but everyone knows you just go around.
That's fine.
But I mean, places like Cornwall, there are. I used to go on holiday there every year.
Newquay's tiny.
But also, there's only kind of one road in, one road out. If you block that road, you're creating a lot of problems.
Well, I think they've already dug up a cricket pitch to land old Biden's helicopter on there. I love the fact that they're all flying around on private jets as well to save the planet. Let's come up with some green agenda.
But it's different for them because they're important.
Yes, I enjoyed your interview with Greg Hands. You ask him a question, he answers a different question.
And then they say, why are you interrupting?
And can I finish my sentence? Well, actually, why should you? Because you're not actually answering the question.
I know.
What's wrong with them?
It's very, very painful, isn't it? But there we are. Yeah, well, hopefully we'll find out what's actually going to be done. They better come up with something good from this.
The other good thing we're doing, and if you're still around later, we're having some wine on the terrace at about 12:30.
Oh, it's going to go wrong.
So if you'd like to join us, you're very welcome.
It's going to go wrong. It always does when there's booze involved and Mike Graham. I know this from bitter experience. Anyway, it's going to be a great show. Always is. So I'm going to go up and look, see if I
Get
can
your binoculars out.
If I can see any sky at all. Thank you very much indeed for listening. I'll be back at 6:30 tomorrow morning. It's finally going to be Friday. I mean, it seems to have taken a long time this week, hasn't it? It's a very long week this week. All 5 days. Not the 4-day week that one of my guests wanted earlier for full pay. Anyway, we'll be talking about that, no doubt, many times in advance. Up next, Mike Graham. This is Talk Radio.